couldn't stop every night. I was drinking cough syrup. I was popping Tums during the day. When I prayed to God, I prayed for a card or a win or a hot streak. I was just sick and tired of being sick and tired. I make 3 prop bets. Those 3 prop bets paid me 7 times what I made in a year. My buddy Greg was with me, and he says to me, "Let's get out of here." I said, "No, I'm not leaving." He said, "You're sick." That was the first time anybody ever told me I was sick. You have 3 choices if you keep gambling: prison, insanity, and death.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the One Day at a Time podcast. Today's guest is Rich Galgano. He's an entrepreneur in recovery from gambling addiction, and his story is incredibly unique. He's just recently written a book, which we're going to be talking all about throughout this podcast episode. Rich, thank you for joining.
Thank you.
I really am excited for this. I kid you not, I don't usually do background questions, too much background research. Usually I'm learning as I'm going with the person. But when you sent a message over that you wanted to share your story, I took a deep dive into what I could find. And honestly, it's a story that I didn't think we'd have the ability to tell on this channel. And so I'm really excited for it because it's going to show people what lies on the other side of leaving gambling in the past. So
100%.
Why don't we dive into it? Why are we here today? Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Rich Galgano, be 57 years old this year. And I've been clean from gambling this will be my 32nd year. I walked into my first GA meeting in September of 1993 at the age of 24, about 3 weeks away from turning 25. I had not started my business yet, and I was working, very successful. I had a very successful job, and about a year after being clean from gambling, I went to my sponsor and I said, actually it's probably 9 months, and because a year from, you don't want to make any major life changes outside a year post recovery, and 9 months in, I said, I've got to do this. And the blessing of my sponsor and the tremendous network and support structure I had in GA, I was had a great support structure and went out and just started this business that just turned into something absolutely incredible.
That's fantastic. Well, congratulations on that. Well, before we dive into the recovery aspect of it, maybe we should set the baseline of how did it get to the point at which you were looking to stop gambling? Maybe take us back a couple years before that.
Back when I gambled, this might be new for maybe some of the younger guys out there and younger gals. You had to work to gamble. You had to get in your car, drive to a casino, riverboat. You had to get in your car, drive to a poker game. Much different than today. If I live, I'm sure we'll talk about this later. You take 1991 Rich Galgano and throw him in 2025, I'd blow my freaking brains out in about 3 days. Not 3 years. The last year, so middle of 92 towards the middle of 93, it was just, dude, I was dreaming cards. Most of my gambling was blackjack and poker games. And I just started dreaming cards, hands of cards, blackjack hands, river cards. I couldn't stop every night. I was drinking cough syrup. I was popping Tums during the day. When I prayed to God, I prayed for a card or a win or a hot streak or a touchdown or a turnover. And I was just sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I went on a 3-day bender towards the end there, all betting college and pro football, and that was it. I was just done. I was done at the age of 24. So the last year was just freaking brutal.
Yeah, I think a lot of people can relate to it, and I know I can. But the monotony of it towards the end, you're just doing the same thing, banging your head against a wall because it's just what you're used to doing. When do you notice that shift in yourself? I imagine that when you first started gambling, you must have loved it. When did it start to shift into something that was maybe, entertainment, into something that was a compulsion?
I probably, when I gambled, was always compulsive. So I'll give you an example. When you go back and think about it, high school poker games, playing with my buddies, okay? I would purposely bring the most money to the game because I knew whether I had cards or not, I could just bluff them out by throwing $20 on a river card, right? knowing they would never put $20 in there. So in essence, I was stealing from my friends, right? But it, it was a compulsion to win, to prove how smart you were. For me, it was about being smart, right? Oh my God. The first night I went to the riverboats, $1,000 an hour. I said, oh, I got this. This is easy. I've cracked the code. So for me, the worst thing that ever happened to me was I won. And early on, when you're gambling with your friends, you can manipulate them, you can beat them. They're not professionals or they're not astute gamblers. But then as you move up the chain and you start getting into bigger games with people you don't know, nefarious characters, things change and they change really fast.
I can remember playing those high school poker games with my friends too, and feeling like I had to win. I thought it was out of a sense of competition, but it turned out to be like I needed to prove that I was the best at something because I never felt like I was the best at something. During your, your high school, later, early 20s years, was gambling your purpose? Was gambling what gave you a sense of meaning?
No, it gave me a sense of power. I got a job right out of school, sales job, killing it, doing unbelievable. I mean, I had like 2 lives and just burning it at all ends. The first year out of school, I didn't gamble a lot. I was engaged to be married. My grandmother was still alive. And in the course of a year, that relationship ended. My grandmother died, who basically raised me. Either my mother worked, my father worked, my mom worked, my grandma was the one home all day. So I lost my grandma, I lost my fiance. I had friends, but not a lot of friends, and I was working all the time. I had a job in sales, and then one day decided to go to the casino boat. Like I said, won $1,000. And we never talked numbers. When I was in the program, actively, really active, we don't talk numbers. So I'll try to avoid talking numbers here, but won a sum of money.
Sure.
And then like the progressive disease it is, I would go more frequently. And probably almost everybody that gets wrapped up in this addiction wins. They don't start off losing. I don't know very few people that start off losing, Rob. I don't know about you. Because if you get your head kicked in 10 times in a row, you tend to stop. And for me, it was always the fact that I was just one win away. And then God is cruel sometimes, but cruel in a kind way, because he gets you that win and you get back to even or a plus. So when I had a string of bad luck and misfortune, guess what? I was always one win away. And then I always got that win. Right. And then you feel like you're back. And eventually it's just psychological warfare on yourself. And it's a horrible feeling.
No, absolutely. Where does the sense of power come in that? Because to an outside perspective that doesn't have, a gambling addiction, it might feel like you're completely powerless because you're playing a game of chance. You're not able to predict the card that comes out next. Where does the feeling of power come from in that situation?
Wait, what do you mean I can't predict the next card that's coming up? Are you kidding me? It's intuition. I'm going to catch that river card. Oh, I'm sitting with the king of spades. We're playing high spade in a hole. I don't think anybody's got an ace. Oh, I'm smarter than this guy here. He doesn't know what I have. I'm going to bluff him out. You don't think about those things.
Right.
When you don't go into a poker game, a blackjack table, or make a bet with the bookie, you are doing it with the expectation that you are going to win, not that you're going to lose. When you are hitting or you make that right decision, oh my God. I mean, is that not the most unbelievable feeling in the world?
Yeah, I understand that sense of like feeling like you're one-upping the casino, feeling like you're the one with the ability to predict what's going to happen next. When you would have wins in the earlier days, would you ever find yourself leaving with any of the money, or was it all
100%.
constantly invested?
No, 100%. 100%. That first year, I accumulated so much cash. I had envelopes filled with cash scattered throughout wherever I was living at the time. I never really tapped into the cash. I was getting credit cards. Okay. And I would be gambling on the credit cards. And basically, I made sure that I could, and I don't know if this even exists today, we would get checks with the credit card. So you get your credit card mailed to you and they would send you checks. You're juggling 3 credit cards, right? And this one you owe, $10,000 on this credit card, minimum payment is X. I've got a balance left on this credit card. I'm writing a check for $3,000, depositing the checking account, writing a check for $3,000 to pay down the line. So I was basically trying to fund my gambling on a line of credit on my credit cards, basically kiting. I'm sure that goes on today. So you're kiting money, and I always had cash. It was like the big shot image. And I don't think people walk around with cash today, but Rob, it would be nothing for me. And I was such an ass because I would go buy a sandwich at the local deli. I would take out my wallet like a big shot, the money clip, and it would be that thick. Be $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 of cash. Who walks around with $2,000 or $3,000, $4,000 of cash when you're 21 or 22 years old? You're sick. You just think you've got this crazy perception like anyone gives a shit. No one could care if you got $3,000 or $4,000 in cash on you. But it was just that whole image and persona that you're trying to create. It's a facade. When I think about it today, I think about, oh my God, how fucking crazy was I? It was crazy.
If your gambling has started to feel less like fun and more like stress, trust me, you're not alone. Millions of us know what it's like to say, just one more bet, or feel that urge that's really difficult to explain. That's why I'm excited to tell you about eVive, a sponsor of today's video. Think of it as having a recovery companion right in your pocket, someone who actually understands what you're going through. No lectures, no pressure, just practical tools and genuine support when those challenging moments hit. Download eVive now and you'll get guaranteed free access through 2026. Not a trial or a limited version, but the complete platform, completely free. Because eVive believes that everyone deserves access to support that works for them. Download eVive today and take the first step towards changing your relationship to gambling. eVive is only available in select countries. It kind of begs the question, right? If you're smashing it in your sales job at this time and you're a professional success, why does the compulsion, why does the need still come up to accomplish it via gambling? Is the gambling money different than the money that you're earning from your job?
In a night, I could win what I made in a month. And I love my job. My job was fun. I had a great job. Gambling was funner. You get dealt a pair of kings. Dealer sitting on a 6. Oh, split the kings, double down. Boy, nothing like it, is it? It's a different world.
Sure.
And if you're not part of that world, you will never understand it. You won't. You will not understand it. But like you said, in the early days, I would walk away. 3,000, walk away. 5,000, walk away. Then towards the end, you stay and you stay and you stay. What perpetrated my downfall, I went to Las Vegas. It was my second or third trip there. This is the summer of 92. And I didn't play a lot of craps. Okay. I was a blackjack guy. I knew how I played craps before. I sit down at a craps table and I'm starting with small bets. I'm making, I think my base salary was $22,000 at the time, and I maybe made $8,000 or $9,000 a year in commissions, maybe a little bit more. So this had to have been 92. Yeah, probably not. Yeah, 92. Next thing I know, I go from $25 bets to $50 bets because I'm winning, then $100 bets. I make 3 prop bets inside a half an hour. Those 3 prop bets paid me 7 times what I made in a year. My buddy Greg was with me. He was not a degenerate gambler, wasn't a compulsive gambler, gambled a little bit. This is now it's dinner time. And he says to me, "Let's get out of here. Let's get dinner." I said, "No, I'm not leaving." He said, "You're sick." That was the first time anybody ever told me I was sick. We were staying at the Mirage back in Vegas. I did not see my buddy until the morning. By the time morning came around, we're leaving for the airport. I didn't have a penny. Every credit card was tapped out. He had to buy me a frozen yogurt. Didn't have to. Out of the kindness of his heart, he bought me a frozen yogurt at the airport, and he paid for me to get my car out of the parking garage at O'Hare Airport. Flying home on that airplane, right? Every promise. Why? I'm never doing this again. Never. How did I not walk away? That was the big win. And I hit 3 more prop bets after the first 3 prop bets. How did I not walk away? right? That was why. Driving home, I get in my car, I'm banging my head on the steering wheel, slamming the dashboard. Why? I'm never doing this again. You're done. You're broken. There's an envelope there. Take the envelope, get in the car, drive to the Riverboat Casino. Sit down. I win enough to be back. Nowhere near what I lost the night before, but it was in the thousands, and I was back, right? You forgot about it. But that, Rob, that was the night that I started dreaming cards. That is the night it started, and it never stopped. And then from that 92 till 93, that was just a year of hell. Year of hell. And the thing was, nobody knew it because I was functioning. I was a functioning, degenerate, compulsive gambler. Totally functioning. In my job, I excelled at my job.
Someone that's hearing this that maybe can't relate to the way that you and I gamble might think that you were being greedy that night at the Mirage. Was it greed or was it something else?
Oh, I wanted more. Hey, hell, why can't I hit 3 more prop bets? So look, the people came to the table. The pit bosses are here. I am. I'm Big Rich. I am the center of attention. I am the king of the craps table. It was what you see in the movies, right? If you don't possess the wiring that we possess, you do not understand. But one of the great things I learned in recovery, it doesn't matter what anybody thinks other than myself. I'm sure people will ask you this. When they discover you're a recovering gambler, you had a gambling problem. First question, well, why couldn't you just stop? It doesn't matter why I couldn't stop. The only thing that matters today, or for me, is to know that I can't stop. So therefore, since I can't stop, it doesn't matter why, then I don't gamble because I know the consequences. People who chase the why, it's laughable. As if knowing the why will now take something that's uncontrollable and make it controllable. It's a fallacy. It's laughable. So I never got into questioning or discovering the why. And the people that I would sponsor or mentor or consult with, I would always say, forget the why. Forget it. It doesn't matter. What matters is you can't, and it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. Just make amends, live a good life, and everything will take care of itself.
I can't disagree at all. And a lot of times podcasts like this, it is about uncovering the why. It is about digging deeper. But at the end of the day, practically, all you need to do is know that if you gamble as a compulsive gambler, it's always going to end the same way. So no need to push further down that path. Take us to the last night that you gambled or the last day that you gambled. What was it that made you finally leave it behind?
So it started on a Friday night, college football games. I had this little bar I would go to, and like the Big Shot, they had tables, and it was semi-sports. It was basically, I would call it a sports bar, family sports bar. And they had this table right up the front where they had the big screen. And back then, God, this is 1993. So the big screens were big consoles. They didn't have the flat screens like we have today. They had this table, and they would put like a little rope for me, the Big Shot, give me my favorite waitress. I bring 1 or 2 of my friends, and we would hold court, right? Holding court. I get shredded Friday night, Saturday, college games start. We're back at the same bar all day. And I rarely drank when I gambled. Getting destroyed every game. I'm losing every game, if that's possible, right? It's like God sending me a message. Losing every game. Started drinking. Saturday night continues. Never left that bar. Got there at 9:30, 10 in the morning. Stayed till 11 o'clock at night. Sunday, I don't go anywhere. I'm sitting in a living room alone in a house that I was renting a room in. And I'm losing games that you shouldn't lose. By the time the 3 o'clock games were getting ready to start, I was done. Done. I couldn't go on. I couldn't even pick up the phone to call the bookie. I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. For the first time, I dropped to my knees in the living room and I prayed. And that was the first time in years, because prior to that, I was God. I was my own God. I dropped to my knees and I prayed. prayed for mercy and for peace. And then this little voice, 1-800-GAMBLER. Call 1-800-GAMBLER. I picked up the phone and I called that number. And there was a soul who picked up the other end of that phone, and he told me, get to a meeting tonight. There's one in Niles, Illinois. It's about 35 miles away from where I was. Get in your car and go to that meeting. And that's what I did. I went to a meeting. It was a Sunday night. Went to that meeting Sunday night, and then went to a meeting on Tuesday night.
What was it like going into that meeting? Did you feel like you could immediately relate to the people that were in there, or did it feel like there was some hesitancy?
Oh, that is a great question. So, different time. There were not young people going into GA when I did. Just, it's not the same as it is today. It wasn't as prevalent, okay? I walk in this room, and it's fucking old people. I'm young. They're old. These guys are, and now, look, I'm old now, but back then you'd think someone 45, 50 is old. I don't have anything in common with these guys. And it's easy to look at the differences when you should be looking at the similarities. I'm like, what do I have in common? These guys, they're janitors, they're plumbers, they're bankers, they're lawyers, they're doctors. Everybody was in that meeting room, but they were all old, married with kids. Then a guy takes me, and we walk down the hall, and he's got this little book, right? He's got this little book. Mm-hmm. And he asked me these questions. There are 20 of them. I answered yes to a solid 14, and the other 6 I wavered, like we all do probably on that first day. And then from that day, I went from Rich Galgano to Rich G, a compulsive gambler. I just said, fuck it, guys. Whatever you tell me to do, I'm going to do. I'm not going to fight it, because my way of thinking got me in this room. And if I keep doing things my way, I'm going to have the same results. So yeah. I was blessed. I freaking surrendered. I surrendered. I quit. I quit everything. I quit gambling. I quit my way of thinking, and I turned it over to God, and I turned it over to this group of vagabonds, misfits, right? It's like the island of misfit toys.
Once you did that, what changed in your life, and what have you been able to accomplish as a result?
Well, okay. Great question. So my sponsor, Wayne B., unbelievable. He's clean 35 plus years. My second meeting Tuesday, Wayne says, Rich, everything I ever thought I would get by gambling or from gambling, I got by not gambling. So what did I think gambling was going to give me? Notoriety, money, power, women, happiness, excitement. Got me none of that. Got me the exact opposite. What did I get by not gambling? Started a business, built a business, got married to the girl that I ended up earlier in the story I told you about. We ended up meeting again and getting married, built a family, 5 incredible children, built an incredible business, great partnerships, great partners. I realized I didn't need the action. There was plenty of action elsewhere.
And I think that's very important for people to hear, because young people right now, I would say young people classing them, I feel like I'm an old person saying that, but I'm classing them as like 18 to 24 in this sense. A lot of them believe that sports betting specifically is investing, and it's a way to accumulate wealth with your knowledge and skill. It's a way to make money over the long run. So hearing that once you leave it behind, you open yourself up to actually be able to succeed, not only financially, but just in every sense of the word, is exactly why I wanted to have you on this podcast. I would say that you are a high performer. And you had mentioned that people that are high performers often do struggle with addiction in secret. You had said you'd been living a double life. What would your message be to someone in that same boat right now, to a high performer who's hiding what's going on in their life?
It's a fool's errand. How many businesses exist today that bet on sports? They don't. There's no such thing. There's no business that's incorporated that pulls money and goes and gambles. It's the exact opposite. The ones that take the bets win. The house always wins. If they didn't win, you would have businesses left and right. Hey, our business is gambling. Doesn't exist because it is a fool's errand. It is not winnable. Not. Period. There is I do not believe that there is anything remotely close to a successful gambler. I think anybody that tells you that is full of shit. They're a bullshitter and they're a liar, because my own experience, everybody knew about my wins. Oh, I was the first one to brag about the wins. That parlay I hit. Never told them about the losses. I might have been walking around with $4,000 in cash in my wallet, my money clip, but I had $20,000 floating on 3 credit cards.
What would you say to someone that's doing that right now? They're walking around with the money clip today. They're walking around and, they're working a good job, but they're hiding from the world.
You have 3 choices if you keep gambling: prison, insanity, and death. That's it. That's it. You will, and insanity by far. It's not an insane asylum. It's dreaming cards. It's living in a fantasy world. Even if you hit the big one and get even, you are never going to stop if you do not address the underlying issue. Because for me, gambling was nothing but a symptom. It was a symptom of a bigger problem. That bigger problem was my ego.
It's so difficult for people in that particular position to conceptualize quitting, because I think that if you're in a highly competitive group like that, like a group that athletes would fall into as well, you've always been taught, like, hey, if you keep trying, if you keep learning and experimenting, you'll figure it out and you'll win. Why is gambling one of the only exceptions to that rule?
Okay. From the time we're toddlers, we're taught quitters never prosper. Double down, try harder. Don't quit. Okay? The only way we win when you're a compulsive gambler is by quitting, by surrender. The book is a story about walking away from the things that are destroying you. You win in life by quitting people who are a bad influence, by quitting things that are destroying your life. In business, you do it by walking away from decisions that are not conducive to business growth. When our fathers tell us, don't quit, quitters never prosper, or our uncles, or our friends, or our coaches, they're coming from a place of well-being, but it's not always practical, especially with people that have an addiction. So I would tell you, the only way you win is by quitting. That's it. There's no other win. There's no bailout. There's no hand. There's no big win. Nothing but quitting.
Practically today, gambling's a lot different than it is when you were doing it in the 90s. What has changed that people need to be aware of, and kind of like what might have changed about your approach to recovery if you were trying to do it today?
So when I gambled, I had to work. And I mean work at gambling. So I didn't do anything different than you did, but you had to work harder. If I wanted to go play blackjack, I had to get in a car, drive to a riverboat casino, which was 30 minutes away. I had to pick up the phone to call my bookie. There was no internet. I couldn't go online, look at every game that was coming up, look at the spreads. I had to get a newspaper, or I had to call the bookie and say, what are the lines? Then I would say, I'll call you back. And there was no NFL red zone. You had one game, local game you were watching. Satellite really wasn't a big thing back then. And you had to wait for the scores of the other game. It was different. You could place a bet and rest. Today, you never have to set foot in the casino, because this is your casino. This is your casino. And it is engineered and designed to suck you in. They know what they're doing. They have engineers, they have scientists, they have psychologists, they have influencers, they have logarithms. They know what they are doing, and everything is built to suck you in at the youngest age possible and keep you a customer for as long as they can. And that is the difference. It is night and day. And if you would have took 1991 Rich Galgano and dropped him in 2025, I would have had my brains blown out. Started on Friday and my brains blown out by Tuesday. I don't know how I would have made it. Every football game is now a craps game. Every play is a roll of the dice, and it doesn't stop. And it's dopamine hit after dopamine hit after dopamine hit. And oh my God, I feel for the kids today. Feel for them. And I know what's going on in these meetings. I know who's coming in, the numbers that are coming in, and these kids, hopefully these kids are watching this podcast. If you have a problem, get help as soon as you can. Pick up that phone, go to your parents, go to your friends, do something. Don't let this go on, because every day it goes on, you're going to get deeper and deeper and deeper. And when you get deep enough, the results are not going to be good. The results get very dark, and they get dark very fast.
Yeah, I think sports betting's fundamentally changed. And I like that you said it's like a crapshoot, because I always say that sports betting's the new slot machine. And the way that it's designed, it happens so fast, which is why it's important to have conversations like this, get the message out there that gambling addiction is real. Help is out there and resources are increasing, but they're not increasing at nearly the rate that the gambling
No.
itself is.
I had my own awakening in my home. I got 5 kids. I'm going through, this is just post-pandemic, my 14-year-old son. I'm going through the credit card bills. Microsoft. What is this? I pull up the last month credit card bill. Microsoft. Then I go back 3 months. All these Microsoft bills. What the hell's going on here? It's these fantasy packs, the Madden fantasy packs. Now, my son is lucky that I'm his father, because I've been through this. We nipped it in the bud. We called my sponsor. We figured this out. But if it could happen in my house, where I could spot a compulsive gambler from 2 miles away, I couldn't see it, not because I wasn't looking, but because I didn't understand the technology that exists today. And then I started doing the research, and I'm like, what they are doing is criminal, because they are targeting the youngest of the young. It is Disneyland, Disney World, Mardi Gras, Vegas, the 4th of July, all rolled into one. You open that pack and you get explosions, you get emojis, you get confetti, you get claps, you get cheering. They know what they're doing. And listen, you're out there, you are the product. You're the product. You are who they are aiming for. They are baiting you in with the greatest bait of all. And they're not doing it because they like you. They're doing it because they want your money.
Mm-hmm. I couldn't agree more. And doing that research and like coming to that realization, is that part of what motivated you to write your book?
No, I wrote my book for my grandchildren that aren't born yet. Okay. And I wanted them to know who their grandfather or grandfather that would be, warts and all. And when I started writing the book, it was just going to be for me. I was basically going to write almost like a diary. And I gave it to some close friends, and they said, this can't just be for you. You have to share this book with the world. This book is unbelievable. This is crazy. This is not a gambling book. Okay? It's a book about a kid that grew up in a small town with not much. The kid gets a job as a salesman. Then the kid becomes a compulsive gambler. Then the kid quits gambling, starts a successful business. And along the way, he lived an unbelievable life. The book is titled Down to the Wire, The Outlandish Tales of How I Quit Gambling to Win Big. It's not a gambling book. It's a book about a kid who gambled. It's a book for people who are struggling with gambling addiction or recovering, but it's for people who want to start a business. It's for people who have a business. It's for people that are thinking about selling a business. It's for investment bankers. It's for private equity firms. It's for people who are into self-help. I mean, the characters in this book. I developed friendships with Paul Stanley, the lead singer of Kiss, okay? I developed friendships with Toby Keith. I went hog hunting with Toby Keith. There are tales of when I went hog hunting with former Navy SEALs who were on the Osama bin Laden raid, on the Captain Phillips raid. There are stories about my business battles with all kinds of different adversaries. There's some courtroom drama where when I started the business, the other company I used to work for sued me. And I'm getting wrapped up in an unbelievable court case where it almost destroyed me. When I quit gambling, the life I lived after I quit gambling was unbelievable in its own right, just because of how I was able to live. Even if you're not into business, you're not into gambling, there's something in this book for you, and it goes fast. Even though it's 400 pages, it goes super, super fast. If you're a parent watching this, you got a kid struggling, you think they're struggling, buy this book. You're going to learn a lot.
And check the description of this video for a link to that book. Rich, I want to thank you for taking the time today, diving into all of that and sharing your story. And I hope that everyone in the audience can resonate with something that you said and use it to live a better life. And if you're in the audience and you want to hear another story of someone in recovery, then check out this video and let's keep getting better together, one day at a time.